It is starting on number 42. Get over here. Where are you? There you are. Okay. So I don't know if anybody's seen these yet. These specific problems. These are the ones that give people the most trouble, and I don't blame you because they don't really give you all the information. You have to kind of tease it out yourself. So, first off, do you guys notice for every problem I assign in this section, how many answers do I need? A, B, C, D, E, F. You have to answer all of those for each. I always have somebody that tells me, they pick one of these, this is this and this is this. No. For each one, identify those things. So, for example, what did I assign? Here we go. Ah, good. So let's do 42. Because I didn't sign it. I don't want to do your homework for you. It asks you for number 42, identify the population. So read through that number 42. It's like one line. Not enough information, but we can kind of tease out what it is. Why is the heat on? That sucks. Everybody reading 42? You have a book, you could read it. In your own book too.
Which page is it?
Oh, so it's in chapter 1, page 51. Okay. So we've all read that sentence. Hello, you guys. So what would the population be?
All clients of that gym.
Yes. Yeah, they're interested in the mean amount of time a client exercises in their center each week. So the population, the definition, is the group, the entire group of people or things that you want to say something about. So they want to talk about their clients. So the population would be all of the clients of that fitness center. How are we doing so far? So you had to kind of interpret that. It didn't just tell you somewhere that. You had to figure out for yourself what the population must be to go along with what they want to know. Okay, I like it. What about, now see where it says give examples where appropriate? So the sample is one place you could do that. So what's one way I could say what the sample would be? What makes sense for a sample?
The clients that exercise that week.
Say again.
The clients that exercise that week.
Okay, so let's think about this. So I appreciate that. Anybody belong to like a gym or fitness center or something? Anybody? No? You're all like, I should, because then I can lift my arm. All right. If you have ever been in a gym or a fitness center, there are people that are there no matter what time you go, which freaks me out. I'm like, do you live here? You freak me out a little bit. And then there's people that never work out. They're just walking around talking to everybody. I'm like, is this all you? Anyway, sorry. But there are people that belong to a gym that never go. Of course, it's hard to tell because we never see them because they never go. So if your sample only includes people that actually exercise, your average is going to be higher than it should be because you're not counting the people that have never gone there, right? Or that week they didn't or something, right? So do you see how the first day we talked about bad samples? And again, I'm not coming down here, it's a beautiful idea, but that leaves out people in our population. Our population is clients of the fitness center. So you don't have to be specific about how to pick the sample. So one way you could say the sample would be just more like a definition, a subgroup of all the clients of the fitness center. You can just say that, that's the sample. Or you could say 92 randomly selected clients of the fitness center. That's giving an example where appropriate. Yes?
Could it be like people who are just there to do cardio?
All right, this is beautiful. Would that give you an accurate representation of the clients of the fitness center? Would everybody in the population have a chance to be in that sample?
No.
No. I like it. And that really is what we want. That's what a really random sample is everybody in the population as an equal chance to be in the sample. That would make it representative.
So to give an example, you're saying just give like a random number like you said?
Yeah, you totally could. Don't say 2, because that's probably a bad sound. A couple people I know, when I talk to, stand around talking, goodness. Talking about that one guy who's going, yeah, so you could either say a subgroup of fitness clients, you could say 80 randomly selected clients. You guys with me? There's other ways to say it too, but to get the feel for how to approach this problem. I don't blame you when you first read these, you're like, don't tell me shit. How am I supposed to? This is where you have to know the definition and tease out what it would be. What about the parameter? What the hell is the parameter in general? What's the parameter describe? This is the splash zone. What does a parameter describe? Population, yes, I like it. Right, so the average of everybody, blah, blah, the percentage of everybody, blah, that would be parameters. So what is the parameter that they are interested in? And that word mean, by the way, are you guys okay with the word mean? What's mean mean? What's mean mean? Anybody know? Yes, so the word average actually means more than we think. The way we use it, it's the word mean is what we really mean. Right? And of course, math people, we like 4-letter words to start with them, so we said, let's not call it average, let's call it mean. So in this case, what would the parameter be? What's the parameter? And again, what's the parameter do? Describes the population. So what better be a part of your answer to this parameter question is the population, right? I mean, come on. And then the statistic, you better reference the statistic describes a parameter describes a population. Statistics describes a sample.
So it's the amount of time?
Say again?
So it's the amount of time?
To be more specific, it's not just an amount of time. It's got to numerically describe the population. So it's the entire population. What can it do with all their times? They can take average. So it's the mean amount of time that who? For the parameter. The mean amount of time that. What was our population? All clients of the fitness center. So what's the parameter? The mean amount of time that all clients of the fitness center work out. You guys see what I'm saying? You've already written what the population is. Just repeat that shit in your parameter answer, because what's a parameter describe? A population. Now let's pretend like your sample, let's say that everybody put down as 82 randomly selected, right? That's one option you could do for the sample. So what would the statistic be? What would the statistic be? It's referring to the, I've already forgotten what I said, the 82 randomly selected. But what about them? The same thing as the parameter. The what? The mean amount of time that the 82 selected clients worked out. You guys see? So statistic and parameters sound the freaking exact same. They both say the same thing. They just say it about two different groups. The parameter says it about everybody, and the statistic says the same damn thing, but just about these subgroups. Maybe. I don't want to play poker with most of you. I have no idea. If you play poker with me, you would know exactly what the hell happened. All right. You guys get a feel for this? Because this is a weird ass problem, and if I don't get questions about this problem, I get worried. Because this is a little bit weird. What about the variable? What was the variable related to? Anybody remember? The question that's asked. I love it. So you got a group of people you want to say something about, you take a group of people to talk to, you have something you want to say about them, and of course that means you have a freaking question you got to ask them. Right? You don't necessarily. How long you work out? You live, bro. So, what is the question I would ask somebody in my sample? Yeah, okay. Because it was the mean amount of time. Yeah. How much time do you spend in the center each week? right? You're right. So that's exactly, the variable would be the amount of time a client spends in the center. Yes, maybe. So to be really honest, let me see if you guys are with this. I wish they would have asked variable and data before they asked parameter and statistic. Stay with me now, come on. Because the variable is what I ask, the data is what I get, and then what do I do with that data? I calculate a statistic to try to get a feel for the parameter. Because it would have been more in order than if they would have switched that, but oh well, too bad. It's a free book, I can't complain too much. So the variable would be, if I'm going to ask them how long do you work out in the center each week, then the variable is the amount of time they spend in the center each week. The data are the answers. So that's where you have to give examples. What could somebody say? What could answers to that question be?
4 days a week.
4 days. I like it. So depending on, I would accept that. But I would take, like, if they worked 2 hours, 4 days, I would want 8 hours. I'm pretty sure they don't come there. If it's 24-hour fitness, they just live there for 4 days. Who's that guy sleeping? He's been here. You know, and then he wakes up and he's like, I'm lifting. I'm sleeping or I'm lifting. Sorry, okay. You guys kind of with me? So the data, you have to give examples. Because the data are the answers. So the mistake people make with the data is they say the amount of time a client spent, that's the variable. The data is the answer. So you have to kind of make up what the answers could look like. Something that makes sense. Maybe not 800 hours, right? Because there's not many hours in it. 0 hours is a possibility, right? All right, how do you guys feel about that? So every single one of those has a different situation, which would attack them all the same way. All right, coolness. Okay. Anything else from homework? Have you guys tried it out yet? You're all like, it's not due to the test, man. I'm gonna do it the night before. Oh shit. Yes.
So, online, like, the book doesn't show, like, the 1.2 homework. Like, it doesn't say, like, 1.2. So when, like, there's a number, like, 12 or whatever, in the middle of, like, the homework.
Yeah? Oh, when you view it online, you mean? When you view it online?
Yeah, it doesn't show, like, 1.2. It doesn't say that.
But it shows the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it
So
just go, like, all the numbers are in order.
So you,
They're all in order.
oh yeah, everybody's in order. But what I desperately want you to do, please, dear God, is do section 1.1 homework. And then do section 1.2 homework. Don't do all the problems in order for the entire chapter. Oh my God, that would suck for me to. Believe it or not, it's easier because I'd rather you turn in each section as you get it done. Does that make sense? Yeah. So even if they don't list the sections, you know exactly which numbers I want you to do for each section. Yeah, cool. Anything else about homework? Because I love it when in the 4th week somebody's like, by the way, I don't know what the homework is. 4th week, dude. So everybody's okay with the homework? Okay, all right. Okay. So let's move on. Let's get back into where we left off. Yes. Huh? Homework? What about it?
Oh yeah, I can't relate.
You get that sheet from me, right? The syllabus? Yeah, so I'm glad you're asking this question because just to make sure everybody's got all the homework assignments for the entire semester. You can get ahead if you want to. Somebody did chapter 1 before the first day, and you're all like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? But it's beautiful. I love it. Just get ahead. Holy shit. Right? So that's where all the homework is. By the way, where's that one? Is there one place? Oh shit, I can't remember. Oh well. Let's see if we hit it. Not somewhere near there was somewhere I had E through. Oh no, okay. Alright. So let's get back into the exciting world of definitions. So the last thing we did, I think, if I remember correctly, is we talked about data. We kind of stopped there, right? So let's talk about more about data. Quantitative qualitative. This is about variables, really. Quantitative and qualitative. That's the two main ways to break down information that we work with. Quantitative is the one that's easy to start with. What's the root word of quantitative? Quantity. So, of course, what should quantitative reference? Numbers. Results. Well, results could be words or numbers, right? So quantitative should be, numbers should be maybe measurements of some kind, right? Quantities. So quantitative is truly numerical. Truly. Very often it's measurements, not always. What do I mean by truly numerical? So for example, if I have anybody on a sports team, my favorite sports team, go. Do you have your team? You have a number on your jersey or no? Is that,
I mean, on my cap.
you have a number associated with you.
Mm-hmm.
What's your number?
10.
10. Is that a real number? Like, give me who's another teammate that you like? You know their number. Anybody? What's another number? Like, there's number 12. Maybe.
Yeah.
Sure. She's like, dude, if I took 12 minus 10, does that mean something? Like if I took somebody else's jersey and I'm like, you're like, I'm two better than you, and she's like, no, it's not that. It's the other way. I'm better than you. Two better. That's bullshit, right? You guys, I love you guys. You're looking at me like I'm insane. A jersey number, is that a true number? If I do numerical shit to it, does it come out with something that makes sense? No. So that's qualitative. Qualitative is, the root word there is quality. It's categorical data. It's like names. So not every number is quantitative because not every number measures something. Maybe. Qualitative, quality, categorical. Names. So like jersey number, or social security number, or zip code, or hair color, of course, or the name of the car, the brand of car you drive, or whatever. The kind of pet you have at home. Is it a turtle? Well, that's the name of the thing. That's a category of animal. That is qualitative. How much does that turtle weigh? All right, that's quantitative, right? I like it. Kick ass. Okay. You're all like, ooh, Jeff, words, numbers, yeah. Okay, that's all it really boils down to. Now we're going to drill down further into data. Levels of measurement. I'm going to trip over this thing. Die. I won't die yet. All right. Okay, there's 4 levels. Of course there are, right? There's 4 levels. It's not quite Dante's Inferno. Ugh. So I'm going to put the first 2 up here. For the most part, these go along with qualitative. Yeah. Nominal, ordinal are name data. Anybody ever heard the phrase plume de nom? And you're all like, dude, what the hell? Pen name? Anybody like Stephen King? Anybody like Richard Bachman? Hey, some of you guys, if you really like Stephen King, you understand that Richard Bachman is Stephen King. That was his pen name when he first started writing. Somebody told him, Stephen King, that's stupid. Why don't you call yourself something more interesting? And eventually we're like, holy shit, it's freaking Stephen King. What the hell? Okay, some of you guys, does anybody not know who's Stephen King? Oh, probably. So plume de nom, pen name, nom name, not number. These 2 are not numerical. So nominal is purely just names. Like your name, or the hair color you have, or the type of tire you put on your car, or whatever. just names. Ordinal is still names, but it adds something. Ordinal says it's names that have to be in a certain order. That kind of makes frickin' sense. Ordinal, order. So what the hell would that be? All right, have you ever gone to a restaurant and they have a little thing on your table that you have to, how was your experience here? And they have a scale, right? Poor, fair, good, excellent, right? And you're like, you need another one down here below poor. This is shit. Or no, I don't know. Depends. I've had the experience. So what if they would have put that out of order? Wouldn't that have been a little bit like, what are you guys trying to do? How was our experience? How was your experience? Fair, excellent, good, poor. You're like, what the shit are you guys doing? That's not in the right order. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Or have you guys done any faculty evaluations here yet at the college? So you guys, I understand there's a big contingency of us. You've never been to college before, but when you do faculty evaluations, they give you a statement like the instructor makes sense, and then it says strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. And you have to circle the one in, right? You guys with me? What if they would have put those out of order? Wouldn't that have made you a little bit like, whoa, what the shit? Okay, I like it. So those are types of order. Very often they have a scale to them. That's why they have to be in order to make sense. But if I start saying, well, what kind of cars are out there? And I see a Hyundai and a BMW and a piece of shit. Right, we have to have a POS sometime. I didn't put that in a certain order. Are you guys like, that's not the right order? Psh, no, who gives a shit? Could I put them in an order? Yes, I could put them in alphabetical order. I could put them in the order of what I like. I could put them in the order of weight. I could put whatever. But is there an order that they must be in? Okay, good. That's nominal. Ordinal is they must be in a certain order to make full sense. I like it. Not that crazy, right? Just a little bit crazy. Right. Get out of there. Inherent. Get out of there. So let me test you real quick. What if I said, here's my data. Broccoli. Get out of there. Lima beans. What you got, Jeff? Parsley. I don't freaking know. Right? And I say, what level of data is that? What level of measurement would that represent? Good. Not ordinal. Don't say, well, they're in order, so they're ordinal. Is there an order they have to? What order are they in? Alphabetical, right? They're not in order of what I like, but they're in order. They're alphabetical order. You guys with me? Does that make them ordinal? No. There's not an order that they have to be in. Okay. What about, here's something I do that's a little evil. Let's say that 40% like broccoli. Is that how you spell broccoli? I have no idea. Is there two C's? Screw it. 25% like peas. I want this really understood right now. The level of measurement has to do with the data I'm working with, not what I do with the data. So the percentages are what I did with the data. They don't mean shit on this question. What's the data I'm working with? Vegetable names. So what level of data is that? Nominal. The percentages have nothing to do with it. It's just what I did with the data. All right, I know this is really exciting. I appreciate you keeping it calm. Okay. So then the next two are obviously going to be related to quantitative. So they get a chance. When I say interval, does that bring back any algebraic memories? Interval notation. What did that look like? Anybody remember? What's an interval mean? How would you use interval in everyday life? And you're like, I wouldn't, but think about it. How would you hear of interval? Anybody? An interval of time, for example, right? So give me a possible interval of time. See?
2 to 5.
2 to 5, I love it. 2 to 5 months, maybe, or whatever. Maybe from 2 to 5 months is going to, whatever, right? So it has a starting and an ending. So does it have a length? Yes, an interval of time has a length. How would you figure out the length from 2 to 5 months? You can do it. How long is 2 to 5 months? How long is it? 3 months. Everybody with me? So interval is data that you can subtract, and the answer makes sense. Do you see how the word actually makes a little bit of sense if you think about it? Not only, so again, could I subtract 2 jersey numbers? Yes. Does the answer mean anything? No. So that would not be this level. Subtraction makes sense. So for example, the year I was born, right? Just to show you how old I am now. What year were you born? If you want to tell me. If you don't want to tell me, I can do it.
2001.
Second?
2001.
2001. Holy shit. All right, sorry. I was born in 1972. So what's the difference between those two? 2001, 1972. You know, oh God. Time's up. Second? Almost. 29. I like it. 2002 would have been 30, so just one less 29. Does that, what does that 29 mean? Does it have a physical meaning? Does it have a physical meaning? Yes, I am 29 years older than him, right? I like it, right? You're like, I didn't do that just to illustrate how old I am. Do you see what I mean by, not just can you subtract 2 zip codes? Can you? Yes, of course you can. Does the answer mean shit? No. Oh, look at that. No, I mean it is. I'm 3 away from you. No. So, not just can you subtract, but does the answer make sense? Right? Ratio is the same idea, but what's the operation you think of when you hear ratio? Fraction. What operation is that? Division. So this is division makes sense. That's one thing. And also, 0 means what it should. What the flip, Jeff? When does 0 not mean what it should? I love that question. I never really asked the class this. What should 0 mean? If somebody says 0 and I ask them some question, that should mean that what? There's none of that. Whatever I said. Do we have any beats left? We got 0 beats. No beats. Shit. Does anybody know when 0 doesn't mean what it's supposed to? Today's supposed to be the hottest day of the week. Right? So, all right. So how does that deal with this question? When does 0 not mean what it's supposed to? 0 degrees. Does that mean it can't get colder? That's the absence of heat. No. I know in San Diego, we never get close to 0, so we don't. That's mythical for us. What? But you can get below 0. You can lose heat, right? How many temperature scales do you guys know? We got Fahrenheit that we use here. I think we're the last country in the face of the earth that doesn't use metric. Celsius, which is metric, right? 0 to 100 based on 10. Like we have 10 fingers, so it makes sense. There's a third one, Kelvin. You don't have to know Kelvin. Don't freak out. Kelvin is when 0 means what it's supposed to. If it's 0 Kelvin, we're all dead. There's no energy, right? So I was doing research getting these atoms really, really close to 0, and I'm sure you guys have seen some, like the little magnet hovering over the thing is all frozen. Anyway, sorry. So I was getting really close to absolute 0, not perfectly absolute 0, because then there's no energy and it all gets freaky. But the everyday scale we use, Fahrenheit, 0 doesn't mean the absence of heat, because you can get colder, of course, right? You get negative. So 0 doesn't mean what it's supposed to. So temperature is not ratio. What's twice as hot as 0 degrees? It's not 0. We have 0 today. It's twice as hot as 0. What the shit are you talking about? So do you see how division wouldn't make sense? if 0 is not in the right place. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Years is not ratio. Years was up in interval. If I divide 2001 by 1972, do I get a number? Yes. Does it mean anything? No. Why not? Because the 0 time means the beginning of time. The year 0. No, there was time before that shit, right? We just picked a place to put 0. Okay, maybe. All right. This is not a sociology class. I'm not going to go into the reasons we picked the 0, but okay, maybe. What about age? How old you are? Somebody could be 20 years old. Somebody could be 40 years old. So it's at least interval, because 40 minus 20 is 20. One guy's 20 years older. But what's 40 divided by 20? 2. Does that 2 have physical meaning? Think about it. The 40-year-old is twice as old as the 20. So there, it has meaning. The 0, if my age is 0, what does that mean? Sorry? I think I heard over here. If I'm 0, I have not been born. I'm not roaming the earth yet. You with me? A little bit? All right. So 0 means what's supposed to mean. So that's why it's ratio. Maybe. So if I ask you a question, what level of data is this? The first thing I would do is it name or number? Because then that breaks it out into which 2 it could be. You guys see what I'm saying? If it's just a name, it's the first 2. And then I got to figure out, does it have an order or not? If it's numerical, it's the last 2. And then I got to figure out, does 0 mean what it should? Does subtraction make sense? So if I said, for example, what you got, Jeff? I don't know, man. The grade somebody makes on their test. What level would that be? It's obviously which 2? Between which 2? Is it number or not number? The grade you make. And I don't mean ABC, maybe it's more specific. 0 to 100, right? So I've been making pretty much gave it away right there. The grade you make on your test. It's got to be one of the last 2, right? It's a number. Subtraction makes sense. You could score 5 points more than somebody else. But is there more? Does division also make sense? Yes. Somebody got an 80, somebody else got a 40. You get twice as many points. Somebody gets a 0. That means what it's supposed to. You got 0 points, right? If you get negative points, that must mean you hit me or something. Boom, that's negative 5. Boom, that's negative 10. All right. And you're all like, dude, just lose 5 points. Just sweet. I'm going to wail away. Whoa, shit. All right. Maybe. All right, that's enough of that. So you guys have got to try that stuff out just to see if you get a feel for this. Okay. Something a little